I'm going to go ahead and start the recording. Thank you so much. Yeah, welcome. Good morning. Happy fine Wednesday here. Looks like the weather is going to be pretty decent out there. Hopefully you got a good rest of your week planned. I want to jump in and just chat with the group about anything that they've noticed, say, since the last time we met last month. I think we did lockout tagout last month, and just wanted to talk with the group, open it up, get into some dialogue about any near misses or anything like that you've seen out there on your job site or within your four walls of your organization that we should pay attention to and be aware of. You know, something that maybe you noticed that could have been a real serious safety violation or cause some damage to either property or person. Anybody want to bring anything up or mention anything we should be aware of before we get started?
It's been pretty good over here. We haven't
Good,
had
right
too
on.
much
That's good to
there.
hear, Jack.
I saw in the news that they finally did that citation for that trench collapse up north last year where they lost the guy. Saw that, so just always on the forefront of the mind of just why we're having these safety talks and actually putting them into practice and avoiding that.
Yeah.
Which one was that? Was that the Windsor one?
I think so, yeah.
I got that's what we're gonna start out with, is a little video of that from the news article. Yeah, it's pretty heartbreaking, man.
Anytime that stuff is just, yeah, man, we just got to continue to educate and teach and help people to.
So that
Not
company
take
got
shortcuts.
cited? Joe, that company got cited?
I think I saw on 9 News yesterday that there was a citation on it that OSHA there was a fine that was associated with it. So,
Well, good. There should be criminal charges there. I mean, I think.
yeah.
Yeah. So unfortunate. You know what I mean?
It is very unfortunate. I think we lost 2 guys that day, didn't we?
If I remember, I think that might have been the one we lost 2. I think the one I was reading, we lost 1 and somebody was.
Well, we lost
in
1
the
and
trench
1
got out.
hours later was able to talk to his family and tell him goodbye.
Oh, yep, that's right.
Oh.
You'll see it. It's pretty heartwarming, man. If you guys ever, it's good training to show that video, especially for trenches, just because it's real and it happened here. So, no joke. In northern Colorado, I know at one point Fort Collins said, you know, if you were caught in a trench and didn't have the proper shoring and things like that put in play, they would pull your license to own a business. And that was out. I think I heard that about 6 months ago. It got pretty serious. I think there's like 2 or 3 deaths that happened in the span of like 3 years.
Wow. Yeah. Make sure you've got your safety policies and the administrative and engineering controls in place, especially in shoring, right, and making sure that that trench is not going to collapse. You know, very, very important stuff. And we're going to get deep into that. Tim, would it be possible for you to, when we're done with today's session, send me your presentation?
Absolutely. Tell you what, let's talk afterwards. We'll share some emails and then I'll get it to you.
Very cool. Thank you so much. Anybody else have anything that they've noticed out there that we should be aware of? We are entering into our spring season, right? And so let's make sure that our water irrigation is all good on your job sites, right? Because you start getting some rains. Wind will start picking up, right? You've noticed a little bit of wind picking up. So let's be sure that when we're out on the job sites, our materials, right, are put into place that we can keep them and make sure that if we're doing anything elevated, right, because of the winds, whether that's in a mobile elevating working platform or ladders or scaffolding and things like that, that we're anchored correctly so that the wind's not going to be a factor. So just things to think of, right? So as we're planning our jobs, keep that in your forefront as you move forward after today, right? Anything that you see or highlights that we really need to bring and make aware to other people or organizations. Let's think about those and present those next month, the next month's meeting. Next month's meeting, we did kind of flop things around this month. We covered excavation and trenching this month, and then next month we're going to get into ladder safety and ladder ergonomics. I can't tell you how many times as an electrician I've watched individuals on ladders just beat themselves up when it comes to their work, and they're toting around tools, they're lifting materials and troughers and cans and pipe, right, and all that stuff up above lids, and they're getting on those ladders. It's sometimes you just watch and cringe, you know, when you watch some of these individuals get on there and do their thing. So we're going to concentrate on that, and then right after there, I believe it's the OSHA stand down in May. And so we'll be doing something. Maybe we'll bring OSHA in for that, or maybe we'll cover multiple, say, topics on that day, as well as after that, we're looking at OSHA heat in June, right? We're going to start getting into the hotter months, so we're going to get into OSHA heat. We will figure out a place to do our facility tour in July. And in August, what we'll do is we'll get together and we'll discuss what your organizations see as topics to cover for our 2024 scheduling. We like to do that a little early in August so I can get a better idea of when to plan, who to reach out to, and help facilitate. So we'll do that in August. September is Suicide Prevention and Mental Health Awareness Month, so we'll be doing something on mental health in September. October, we're starting to get the weather in, so we'll do winter driving and fleet maintenance. We don't have a safety forum in November, so jumping into December, we will do arc flash. Arc flash we were going to cover last year, but because of some things that popped in and some schedule changes, we didn't get a chance to cover it, but we have that on schedule for December. So out of those safety topics, you know, if there's something that we find or you find, we need to kind of align our focus on and pay attention to. These subjects are always TBD. So if we need to make changes, we'll do that. So today we're talking about trenching and excavation. And to do that, we have got a trenching and excavation safety expert with us. Tim with Encore Electric has put together a piece. Tim, tell us a little bit about yourself, man, and then go ahead and jump right into it.
Awesome. I appreciate the introduction. My name is Tim Higginbotham. I work for Encore Electric. Been in safety here for about 12 years, going on 12 years. Actually, mentored under Jack for many years. Thank you, Jack, for all your help. Anyway, I know quite a bit about trenching excavations. We do a whole lot of it here. Training is a big piece of trenching. So I put together a PowerPoint. Kind of took a lot out of it. It's actually a PowerPoint I got from my training manager. It had lots of good stuff in it, but I did clean it up a little bit. So if I'm missing something, guys, please hop in, okay, and tell me what I'm missing. We'll see how long it gets, because this was like a 2-hour presentation. So let's check this out. See if I can get this shared screen back going, okay? It was an issue this morning, let me tell you. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Yep, sure can.
Awesome. So I'm doing this right. All right.
Good job, Tim.
Yeah, thanks. I'm going to tell you, I took a college education just to get this piece of it. Well, good morning, guys. Again, I'm Tim Higginbotham. This is Encore Trenching and Shoring safety we put together for you guys. So we appreciate you guys letting us be a part of it. Why are not my slides moving? What's going on here?
This is
real quick, guys. I'm going to start out with a video. Okay, remember when we were talking about that trench over in Windsor? Okay, I wanted to start out with this. This was a news article from 9 News that came about. And it's a pretty heartwarming video. And I kind of want to talk about that and kind of go on and why this video came into play, okay?
This is a once-in-a-career type incident.
The call that cleared the garage on Tuesday
It was empty, yeah.
sent everyone, including Chief Chris
It
Kazian,
was a long day.
to a home construction site on Camberley Drive.
All that dirt is all dirt that caved in.
2 workers in a trench were buried in about 8 tons of dirt.
So very heavy, very compacted when it all collapsed.
Fire crews don't think anything was used to shore up the trench walls.
On arrival, we did not see a trench box in place.
They used heavy equipment and eventually shovels to dig.
Every time we got a bucket or two of dirt out, more dirt would fall in on them.
They knew at least 1 worker was still alive.
For whatever reason, in this case, he was able to breathe for hours.
Able to talk, too, first through PVC pipe and then through a microphone to family gathered at the scene.
Our crews felt that it was important for this family and for him to have an opportunity to speak.
A chance to say goodbye.
As responders, we were concerned that we might have a poor outcome, but we wanted to make sure that he and they got a chance to communicate.
It'd be nearly 12 hours before crews pulled the men's bodies from the dirt.
So it's very challenging for all of the responders, mentally and physically.
The kind of call no chief wants to repeat.
Our thoughts are with the families. It's definitely a tough time, and they're not the outcome that we were looking for, and we worked very hard to have a different outcome.
In Windsor, Noel Brennan, 9 News.
Yeah, like I said, that's a real video. That happened here, guys. I'm sorry, but I still get the chills when that guy says, to say goodbye. It almost brings me to tears, to be flat out honest with you, because I couldn't imagine talking through a pipe or talking through a microphone. Can't see them. All you're doing is just saying goodbye and I love you. So when it comes to that, guys, first thing we're going to start off with here is understanding what an excavation is, what a trench is, because it's important to understand. So just we all know an excavation is a man-made cut in a depression inside the earth. Okay, what I highlighted here is remember this, because its width is greater than its depth. Okay, and that's what makes truly an excavation. Okay, I mean, we've seen it on the job sites. We got to dig them out. We got to get basements in. A trench is a narrow excavation, so its depth is wider. Okay, it's greater than its width, which can't exceed more than 15 feet. A shield is like a structure that can withstand a cave-in to protect people inside that trench, okay? And shoring is more of a structure that supports the side. So when you're talking about a shield, that's something that we use probably more than anything, okay, is shielding. That's the trench box that you guys are going to dump into the trench. That's what we're really going to talk about today. Really not going to talk about shoring a whole lot, because now you're dealing with timber structures, you're dealing with aluminum shoring, you're dealing with things that you got to figure out how to get this stuff built and get inside the trench. Okay, normally it's built inside the trench. We won't do anything like that. These are things that are going to be up for long periods of time. Okay, and slopings are techniques to give inclines an angle to where they don't cave in, they don't slide. It gives those guys an opportunity to work inside of a trench. And the thing is about sloping, guys, I'll tell you, when you got let's say a 10-foot wide trench, okay, and then you have to trench, we'll talk about ratios, but like a class C, I mean, you got to open that up wide. I mean, if you're 10 foot in the middle of the trench, you're going to be 10 foot on each side of that trench. You just now opened up a 30-foot wide trench, okay? So a lot of times when we talk about sloping, sometimes you just can't do that on a job site. You don't have 30 feet, especially when you go downtown Denver, okay? You're just not going to get 30 feet. I mean, they use all the real estate that they can. Competent person, someone you got to have on site when you're trenching, and training is important. If you don't have a competent person, then you get caught. It could be criminal charges if someone dies inside that trench. I heard that just this morning, and Joe was telling us that those guys got charged. That company got charged cited for that trench, for those 2 guys dying inside that. But a competent person must have specific training and knowledge about the soil classification, the use of protective systems that are required by the standard, and must be capable of identifying those hazards and eliminating them inside that trench. When it's raining, when it's snowing, any kind of weather, when the dirt seems to change, sometimes you can have different classifications. You can have a class B on top of a class C, or vice versa. And you gotta open those up according to each classification. Okay. It's really tough to do that when you have a C on the bottom of a B, which is very rare. Okay. Just because everything gets so compacted the deeper it goes. This is what we use. We actually use a permitting process. What this does is it gets guys involved. It asks them what they've done, if they've looked at it, how they've looked at it, what soil classification, how they got that soil classification, and that they've called 811, they've gotten their locates, including our subcontractors on here. This also includes that if we have a subcontractor on site, they have to get their own ticket number for 811. They can't piggyback on ours. And every 30 days, it shows that right there on number 3, it shows a 30-day 811 ticket number. So it automatically reminds them, hey man, I got to do this every 30 days. And be flat out honest with you guys, that's what this permit process is for, is to get these guys to think. And then when they do think and when they come up with their soil types, it shows what it is, like their type C, 1.5 to 1, 1 to 1 for type B, 3/4 to 1 for type A. So it really gives them a good idea, because the guys have already been trained. A lot of times all they need is something to kind of bring back to their memory, okay, on what they need to do. And it also gets their project manager involved. It does require project manager's signature. So I'll be honest with you, I mean, anytime you guys can get a permit processing going when it comes to trenching, it's great, because it makes them stop for a minute. And that's what we want them to do. I mean, sometimes we go, hey man, let's push, let's get it going. The best thing I can tell everybody is get these guys to stop and get them to think and make sure they've covered everything on their basis, because I mean, there's lives at stake, and those lives, we're all held accountable for them. Okay, especially the competent person on site. Be honest with you, him and the company is held liable for that. Okay, so this is our permitting process. When it comes to the weight of soil, this kind of shows 1 cubic foot of soil weighs 110 to 140 pounds, guys. That's a lot. Okay, and that's 1 foot. So imagine 1 foot by 1 foot box, right? Square box is 110 to 140 pounds. Now, when you're thinking of let's say a backhoe, it's 3 cubic yards. Am I right, guys? Pretty sure it's 3 cubic yards. So 1 cubic yard of soil can weigh 2,100 pounds. Okay, so now you're looking at a backhoe. All right, it can hold 2, 4, 6, 6,000 pounds of dirt. One thing you want to do is communicate with those operators before they dump that in. Years ago, about 20 years ago, you guys probably remember, we lost a gentleman with an electrical contractor, actually died inside of a 2-foot trench. Told the excavator he was done, and the excavator, he went back to grab some tools and put a pipe back together that he forgot about, and the operator dumped a whole load of dirt on him. Killed him instantly. His wife called and couldn't find him. He didn't come home that day. They dug him up the next day. So really communicate with them. If you're going back inside that trench, you got to let your operator know. That way he doesn't drop any more dirt. Because the minute you tell him you're done, he's going to continue to do what he needs to do. Okay. So communication is important. When it comes to that weight, okay, when we store all that dirt on the side, I just want everybody to know. I mean, here we are. We've got this. Let's say we've got an 8-foot, 10-foot trench deep open. You know, let's say it's 5 foot wide. You put all this dirt on there, and it starts to crack. It starts to make these fissures inside the dirt. And then all that weight, okay, remember, you put 6,000 pounds of dirt there, and there's a cavity. There's so much weight on that dirt, it can cause that to collapse inside of your trench, okay? So you want to push that back as far as you can at a minimum of 2 feet. If you're going to have big piles like that, I'd recommend putting them somewhere else and then picking them up and dumping them back in the dirt, okay? Honestly, anytime we can't get inside the trench, we will dig it, we'll build a pipe on the ground, and we will kick it literally inside the trench. Anytime we can stay out of it, we will. The only time we really get inside of it is when we're building duct banks. But cave-ins, when you look at this, okay, it's your greatest risk, okay? Other things to think about inside these trenches, if you don't know your dirt, is like other kind of toxic fumes, if there's any kind of gases in there. What's that, Rocky Flats, if we're doing over work at Rocky Flats, I mean, that used to be some kind of chemical storage facility or something like that back in the, with our military. Now they're building houses on it, get all the Californians over there, right? No. But one thing about it, guys, is it's good to test the dirt in those areas so you know what's inside of it, okay? Our favorite one is PVC glue, and I like to talk to guys about fire inside those trenches, because PVC glue is highly flammable and it can accumulate inside of a trench especially if there's no wind, So if you ever see an electrician in the trench laughing, know they're there to talk to him, and get him going, get him out of the trench, get some oxygen going. Machinery near excavations can cause a collapse. Machinery likes to vibrate a lot, so you really want to watch machinery when you're out near excavations, roadways and traffic areas, underground utility lines, and any kind of falls, anything over 6 foot, okay? Let's talk about those utility lines. They seem to be happening quite a bit here lately. You guys watch the news or hear things about it. Utility lines are important. You must call 811. What they do is they look for your sewer, they look for your telephone, your gas lines, electric lines, water lines, and these are your colors that they go with, okay? So you'll always see red as your electric, yellow as your gas, and so on, blue as your water. And when you dig these lines, okay, you can't dig on top of them, because if you break them, you can get charged that cost to fix that. It's expensive. If you break them too many times, Xcel Energy will actually fine you in the tens of thousands of dollars because you keep hitting their lines. I've seen that happen. So required by the standard, call 811. This is why we like to put it on the permit process, because it gives us that number too. When you're looking at those numbers, this is what it looks like. They put it in a straight line and hand dig or pothole over those lines. And it's a minimum of 3 feet, they say, that you hand dig and pothole in each side. If you are using a trencher, you cannot trench 3 feet on each side of that line, okay? I have seen those lines off time and time and time again, and they can be at least 3 to 5 feet off, okay? So I would recommend hanging out and doing it every 5 feet. You're gonna have 10 foot of trench there. You're gonna have to hand dig or pothole. But believe me, guys, it's better than hitting an electrical line, especially a 13,200 volt line. Okay, it can create quite an arc blast if it doesn't kill it. Stairways and ramps, egress inside these trenches are important. Especially if they're deeper than 4 foot in depth. Okay, 4 foot's your number, so you have to have a box or something inside that trench at 4 foot. Okay, technically it's 5. Our program is 4. All right, so I'm going to go with 4 for us today. All right, because here's the thing: is 5 foot. 5 foot's so close, guys. And an OSHA comes out and he puts his tape measure inside that trench. Jack King can probably say yes to this. He's going to find the deepest piece of that trench. And if you're 5'1", 5'2", you just violated that trench. Okay. So we put a 4 foot in place. All right. Lateral distance of travel can increase more than 25 feet. So you got to have a ladder in there, ready for access and egress. Okay. And one is fine. You look at this picture and he's got his trench box there. And there's something wrong here is when you look at that trench box, okay, he needs to be at least 18 inches above that ground. All right. With the ladder there. All right. That way things can't fall inside that trench box. Okay. So it's almost like a guard to protect material from going inside of it. So remember, trench box, 18 inches above the ground, okay? 25 distance of lateral distance when it comes to egress, and required if a trench is 4 foot in depth or more, okay? Here's your travel. Let's say you dug a 50-foot trench, and this is a great way to do it, guys, because you can literally, see how he's got 2 ladders on each side, okay? See how that guy's right there in the center? you could drop a ladder right there in the center of that 50-foot trench, all right, and have ladder access 25 foot of lateral distance either way you go. Okay, if the ladder is larger than 50 feet, okay, now you got to have one every 25 feet. Okay. Anybody have questions? Please go ahead and ask. Okay, we're going to keep on moving. Now, not only ladders, but you can have structural ramps too. Okay, these are designed by the competent person. Again, you got to have a competent person on site. And see how he's got all the dirt moved away. Okay, it's almost like having a 1-to-1 ratio on your dirt. Okay, he's got that sloped up to about a 30-degree angle, roughly, and that's going to keep all that dirt from sliding. It's going to keep it from caving in right there on the ramp. So that's been designed that way. And this helps get equipment up there, helps get any kind of materials and things like that. And these are a lot for excavations, more just than a trench. Now, you can't do this for a trench on one side of the trench, okay? Now, let's talk about that trench for a minute. I'm going to go back up here for a minute. See on this right here is, let's say he's got a 50-foot trench here, okay? And if you have vertical walls on each side of that trench, okay, you have to protect that vertical wall. I tell my guys, if all you're going to do is have a 5-foot trench, slope each side of the trench. Now you don't have that vertical wall, and you have access and egress in and out of the trench. Okay, and you can use that for 25 feet inside. Then you can put your ladders in if you have a longer than a 50-foot trench. Okay. So don't forget about those sides. It tends to be forgot about a lot. Another is exposure to vehicular traffic. And we do a lot of work on the roadways, do a lot of trenching on the sides of the roads. So you got to have some kind of barriers up, either you're guiding traffic or you got some kind of Jersey barrier to protect you from vehicular traffic. You also have to have a trench box because all the vibration from the traffic can cause these trenches to collapse. So never get into a trench. Honestly, even a 3-foot trench can collapse on you when you're on your knees. So really watch your vehicular traffic. Sometimes when you're exposed to so much vibration, you might need to get a trench box in, okay? Even if you are under that 4 foot, even or at the 4 foot. So really watch what kind of area, know what your dangers are, know what you're exposed to, and then it takes a competent person to do that. He can make those corrective actions as needed. Okay. Mobile equipment, like watch where they're going, barricade them. That way it keeps stuff like this from happening. Concrete trucks from going inside. We've actually had no one inside a trench, but a concrete truck actually caved in one of our trenches because he was so heavy. And honestly, it was just a way where they needed to route these guys somewhere else, and they did. Don't know why, but that's another story. Another thing is gases. Know the environment that you guys are dealing with. If you have to test the environment, test it. If you see something coming out, but I mean, normally if you're on a job site, the whole job site gets excavated. So you're automatically talking about Class C. We'll talk about Class C's classifications here in a minute. But if you have gas inside the trench, those are things that you got to test for to make sure that you're clean and safe. Test 4 feet if suspected. These are your LELs, oxygen, carbon monoxide, H2S. That is a 4-level gas meter. Those are the only 4 that we test for. Test about 4 all the way. I test at the bottom of the trench, and I will test at the middle of the trench, okay? Just to make sure we don't have anything accumulated. If you have something heavier than air inside that trench, it will actually sit at the base of the trench, okay? These are your oxygen levels, 19.5 and up to 23.5. You'll see about 20.9 here in Colorado, almost faithfully. Unless you go up to the mountains or something like that. But right here on the Front Range, it's about 20, it's about 19, 20. Combustible gas concentration is 20%. Your lowable flammable limits and your PELs. Okay. Precautions, something else to think about is water. When it's raining, when it's snowing, changing conditions, don't just throw people in the trench, look at it, there's water in there. You got to get all that pumped out. You got to let it dry. And then you got to relook at your trench to make sure that those walls are still capable of withstanding the pressures and the forces, and keep them a cave in. Up to 4 feet, and obviously anything over 4 foot needs to be protected. Okay. So watch for the water. You might have to get a registered professional engineer to come check that out. If you have consistent water running inside that trench, now you've got to find a way to control the water. Okay. And if you are controlling the water inside that trench, the competent person's got to be there to monitor that whole time. Okay. And if something goes wrong, he needs to be able to get people out of the trench. If something breaks down, and figure out how to get that back up, that process up and running again. But here in this picture, you will actually see the water pump pumping, and guys are actually inside that trench. Okay. They've controlled it. All right. Another one too is underpinning, bracing any kind of bridges. If you guys are undermining a building, you got to pin them. Make sure that the structure is supported. It may take a registered professional engineer to approve. But here's what I'm talking about when it comes to underpinning. So when you are digging underneath a building or a bridge or something like that, you've got to protect the structure from fall. Okay. Now it depends on how big the structure is or whatever, but put something underneath there, even a sidewalk. So, I mean, how many times you guys need to get underneath the sidewalk, right? If you dig a lot of that out, that concrete's going to break and it's going to fall right on top of it. This is a sidewalk. Okay. Here, employees must be protected from equipment or material that could fall into those excavations. Material and equipment must be kept 2 feet from the edge at a minimum. So that's your tools, that's your dirt, that is everything you need 2 foot from that edge. Okay. You see these backhoe operators straddling this trench. You can't straddle a trench and dig. Okay. He is on top of the most, he's putting a lot of weight on that dirt already. Okay. So now if you straddle that trench, you could actually fall inside that trench. Don't be inside the trench when he's digging. He could hit you or that trench could cave in. Spoil piles must be at least 2 foot from the edge, including pipe materials. And then really watch the surface load you're putting on there. When they put it back on there, again, it's weight on the trench. It could fall and cave in on you. Excavation must be protected by cave-ins by protected means. Here's we're going to talk about a lot of the structures when it comes to trenching and shoring. But here's a protective system. They need to be installed where they can prevent failure and capable of preventing failure. So, I mean, these things are pretty heavy. They're aluminum. If you buy the aluminum panels, are nice because you can build them. They come in like 3 foot sections. And you can sit there and order those panels and you can build this thing outside the trench and it comes with a nice little hook on the top and you can drop them right in. You cannot build a shielding inside the trench, okay? Now, if you build like a support, what I'm trying to say here, if you're trying to remove it, you pull it out. See how he's got this right on top of the shoring? But this right here is designed to be built inside. It's more of a shoring than it is a shielding. These are for bigger trenches. When they get that big, you just can't take a backhoe and drop it in. But honestly, this is probably the most common piece that you guys will use every single day. This is built outside of your trench and dropped inside. Okay. This right here is something I wanted to talk about because it's important when you guys are inside of a trench. So right here, if you look at this picture here, there's the base of the trench. See, he's got this, it's a 6 foot wide trench. He's got the top of it. He's got his 18 inches high, but look at the bottom. If you look at that, he's got 10 foot of space on the bottom of that. And that whole shielding system is supported 10 foot above the ground. So number one, I'm worried about the shielding system falling, but most importantly, look at all this dirt that is caving in on him. That was a 20-foot trench box. It's a 30-foot deep trench. They had to rescue this guy from the sewer line inside the dirt. Pretty interesting story. But the piece here that I'm trying to get to is when you're looking at that trench box, you cannot have any more than 2 feet. And you can order, I call them legs, adjustable legs for your trench box, for your shielding box. And you can have 2 feet there. You just got to order the legs for them. Okay. And they attach right to the trench box and they're adjustable. Okay. This one's a big piece, guys. That was 10 foot of dirt that collapsed on that gentleman. This is actually a shielding box that was dropped inside. This is with the ladder inside. Make sure that that ladder is supported and it can't fail when it comes to displacement. But that trench box right there, if you look at it, it is not tall enough. It needs about another 3 foot on that if you look at it. That's what it looks like. Remember, 18 inches above your trench. And no greater than 2 foot below the bottom of the trench for your shield. A little bit about soil. Okay, we're going to talk about soil types. This is kind of driving the end of this presentation. Cohesive soil. Okay, let's talk about what that is so we can talk about it. Clay or soil that has high content of clay, has a high cohesive strength, does not crumble, can be excavated on vertical sides and slopes, and it's plastic when it's moist. It's hard to break up when it's dry. Granular is like a sand, like a sandy gravel type stuff. It breaks up. It can't stick together. Even when it's wet, it still continues to break up. It's probably the worst kind of soil we can have, and there's a lot of it here in Colorado. So what I tell people, the best way to do it is have your operator take it's got to be instantly. It can't sit there and dry. So have your operator take a scoop out of the bucket, because you want to take it out of the bottom side of the trench, and you want to grab a ball of it. Okay, I grab quite a bit of it. I make myself a nice ball and I smash it together. Okay, and I'll take some and I'll try to roll it. Okay, in my hand. And if you can roll, it's called the thread test. And if you can roll that into your hand, at least 2 inches in length, and it doesn't break. Okay, now you have some cohesive soil. Okay, and we'll talk about soil types. That would be a class B. All right, you can bench that. Then you have the ribbon test. Okay, and I like to get this into a ball, more like a ribbon. Then you can kind of push your finger into it and see, don't push it in the tip of your finger. See how, like right here, see how he's kind of push it in, and he's kind of seeing how dense the dirt is. Okay, I tell guys, if you can push that in and you get to the top of your fingernail, okay, that's some good dirt. All right. If you can take that and you push that all the way through that whole ribbon or the whole dirt, your whole thumb goes in there, then you're dealing with some sandy soil. And this is from the bottom of your trench, guys. Don't take this from the top. And it's got to be done instantly the minute he takes it, because the minute the soil starts to dry, there's not a lot there, so it can change its cohesive strength. This is also a pocket penetrometer. This is another way to test it. If you got one, you know, they're a little pricey. They're not too bad, but if you're doing a lot of trenching, it's good to have one of these on hand, because now you can see your cohesive strength on with a tool. Okay, a calibrated tool. So here are these definitions a little bit for type A soil. We talked about the strength of them. Now, type A soil is more of a clay, silty clay, a hard pan. It is a really hard dirt. Okay, and you can take that 3/4 to 1 when it comes to trenching. One thing I'm not going to talk about is stable rock. Stable rock, you can have vertical sides here. Really, it's pretty rare you're going to find that here. Even going up in the mountains, I mean, you're not going to find stable rock, but you're just going to find a whole bunch of boulders up in the mountains, you know. I'm really not going to discuss stable rock, okay? But type A soil, though, is good soil. It's not fissured. It's not subject to vibration of any type and never been previously disturbed. It's some pretty hard stuff, okay? Type B soil is kind of that sandy loam, medium clay. We'll talk about benching, but you can bench this stuff, okay? And then when we go to type C is kind of a gravel, that sandy stuff, okay? You can't, it doesn't like when you ribbon test it, it falls all apart. When you stick your thumb into it, your thumb goes all the way into it. This is probably the worst soil you can get to here in Colorado. Okay, it's Class C, and honestly, most job sites are Class C. Very rare you see a job site that's Class B. Number one, general contractors got to test soil and say, hey, I know this is all Class C. A lot of times they'll go, hey, we're just going to go worst case scenario and call it Class C. Now, if the whole job site's been excavated, they have to call it Class C unless they have a guy come in there and test the entire site, which is not going to happen. Okay. So now once the job site gets all excavated and dirt gets pulled back on it, okay, which happens 9 times out of 10, it's Class C. Okay. Here's your vertical depths when it comes to, or your slope angles when it comes to stable soil types. Stable rock, you can have a vertical height at 90-degree slope angle. Type A, now remember that's pretty hard stuff. You're looking at 3/4 to 1, which is roughly about 53-degree angle. Okay. Your type B is a 1 to 1. Okay. The cool thing about type B is you can bench it. We'll go through that here in a minute, but it's at a 45-degree angle, slope angle. Even if you bench it, it's got to be at that angle. Okay. So when you're looking at a 1 to 1, let's talk about that for a minute. Okay. You got a 10-foot wide trench, right? And then you're going to open that up 1 to 1, which means you're going to have 10 foot on also either side of that trench. And there is your 30-foot trench. Okay. And that's for a type B soil. Type C is 1.5 to 1 at a 30-degree angle. So now on each side on a 10-foot trench, you're going to have 15 feet on each side. Okay. Here is a little bit about type A, 20-foot max. Anytime you go over 20 feet, it's going to take a registered professional engineer to engineer a shoring system, a shielding system to support the weight of the dirt. Okay. But here, type A soil is 3 to 1. It kind of shows your angles there. It's a pretty wide trench, guys. Here is a simple bench when it comes to 3/4 to 1, which means your bench can't be over 4 foot. Okay, to start. I tell my guys 2 foot. That's just a safer trench when it comes to benching. 2 foot's a good number. 4 foot's pretty tall. I'm not gonna lie, but most of the time you'll see people benching at 2 foot. Okay, 2 to 3 foot. 4 foot max, and then your rest of them are 5 foot max. Like I said, we stick with about 2 to 3 feet. 20-foot max on your multiple benches. This, you'll see this quite a bit here. This is pretty popular when it comes to trenching and excavations. Now, your Class B soil is a 1 to 1 soil, so it's also it's pretty big. Okay, so it's going to be a wide trench. All right, this is where a lot of times your shielding comes in. Why people use trench boxes, but this is a simple slope of 1 to 1. Okay, Class B. This is also a simple bench. 4 foot high, then your slope on each side. Okay, these are probably pretty popular when it comes to guys building duct banks and things like that inside of your trench. What's cool about this is it holds concrete in too. So they'll design this that's just big enough for their duct bank, and they'll pour concrete right inside of it. Okay. Type B, so here's your multiple bench, pretty popular. 4 foot max. You cannot go 5 feet here, only in type A after that, but this is your 4 foot max. Again, I tell our guys 2 foot is a good number to stick with. Here is your simple slope Class C. This is your biggest slope, and your 1.5 to 1. This is a pretty big slope, pretty big trench on a job site. And we do have it quite a bit when there's a lot of work being held in them because they're open for a long time. They're open for months, and if they're open for a long period of time, you got to have some kind of barricades around them to keep people, unauthorized people, out of it. And it can't be main egress going inside of the building, going through the trenches. Okay. You cannot bench Class C soil, guys. So let's understand Class C here. You can only slope it. You can't bench it. You can't simple bench it. This is what you got from the toe up. All right. What I mean from the toe up is from the bottom of that trench up. Okay. It's got to be sloped. Here we talk about A over B. If you have different soil classifications, we call this layered soil. Again, your B has to be benched to a 1-to-1, and your A has to be benched to a 1-to-1. Again, here you're looking at C and A. So you have to go with worst case scenario, okay, when you have layered soils like this, okay, especially when you have an A over C, because your A is a harder soil than your C. So now you're looking at hard clay on top of sandy dirt, right? Which again, not very common here, you know. And here's some pretty gnarly ones here when you have a harder soil on the bottom, but a softer soil on top. Now you can say, now you don't have to go worst case scenario. You can go, okay, well, I can bench my A at a 3/4-to-1, and I can bench my B at 1. Okay, that's if you have a harder soil on the bottom. Because if you look at this, your softer soil is on the bottom, your harder soil is on the top. Here, you're dealing with a harder soil on the bottom, a softer soil on the top. Okay, so here you would go worst case scenario, they would both be the same, 1.5-to-1, which is your class C. Right here, you can do either one. Okay, you can do 3/4-to-1, and then your B, obviously your 1-to-1, according to its classifications. And then here you have a B over C. Again, worst case scenario on the bottom, you have a C. So you have to bench them both at a C, even if you have a B on top. Because again, your bad dirt, your sandy, loomy gravel dirt is on the bottom. Same here. This right here is a harder dirt on the bottom, a softer soil on top. So now you can go with what they're supposed to be, 3/4-to-1 for A, 1.5-to-1 for C. Am I making some sense here, guys? You guys learning anything anyway? Yeah. One more, we got another one here. This is C over B. Again, this is a softer soil on top and a harder soil on bottom. So again, B is 1-to-1, C is 1.5-to-1. You can open those trenches up accordingly. All right. Here's a little bit of benching and sloping soil piles. We've already kind of talked about all this a little bit, okay? But always remember, guys, it's important that you guys know you can't bench class C soil. Okay. Well, guys, that's really all I got for the presentation. Again, like I said, I cut this down a little bit. I hope I didn't miss anything. Kind of hit on the key points. Let's kind of open this up for discussion if we can. I think I'm right on time, I hope, anyway. What you guys got? You guys got any questions, or can I answer anything for you?
Any questions? Thanks, Tim. Great presentation, great overview. We really appreciate it. Anybody want to have, anybody have any questions or anything to add to Tim's overview? Don't make it this easy on a Wednesday.
You know, guys, if you guys want the PowerPoint, I'd be more than happy to send it to everybody. It's got our logo on it. We're still perfectly fine. Anybody using it, I have no problems with that. What I'll do is I'll send this over to Dave, and I'll have Dave send it to you, just because I don't know how big the file is, so he can get it to you a little easier.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Thanks, Tim.
Welcome to it. A lot of good information in here when it comes to soil types and how to dig it. Best thing I can tell you is know what your guys are doing and get the protective measures. If you guys need anything, feel free to give me a call. Give you guys my number real quick if you guys are ready. It's a 720-939-3164. Again, that's 720-939-3164. Give me a call and kind of answer any questions for you. If you call me for an Uber ride, I'll probably give it Jack Kane's number. He'll
Hey, watch out. Tim,
Anyway.
great presentation. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Jack. I appreciate
Absolutely,
it.
absolutely, and definitely stuff for the people in attendance to take back to their group. It's a good benchmark and a foundation, right, to understand the sloping and shoring and the different soil types and types of engineering controls that we can make sure that it's safe, right? And you got your boxes and you've got your excavation points at every 25 feet, right? No matter where the worker's at within that trench. Just remember that first beginning of the presentation, you know, it takes earth moves fast when it's moving. You know, you don't have a whole lot of chance if that stuff's coming at you. It's like it's just as fast as water is when it's coming at you. So, and it doesn't move like water. So once you're in it, you're in it. So be extra careful out there. Make sure you're following some of these policies and procedures, and let's make sure that everybody that enters that trench exits it. And once again, as OSHA mentioned in January, they really are hitting this very topic very hard. You know, one of the things that they had mentioned before, that they're doing drive-bys. They're not waiting for anybody to call or to make a complaint. They will, if they're seeing land movement and excavation, they'll drive right to your site and just check you out because of what happened, not just, especially here in Colorado, right? But I think that they're seeing an uptick nationally, and so they're really focused in on it. And if you know anything about the leadership in OSHA today, there was some leadership changes about 2 years ago that they are really strict and they will cite you. So any questions?
Paul, to that regards, guys, when you get a chance, take a look at some of the penalties that are coming out of OSHA. They're astronomical.
Yeah, they are a lot higher this year, aren't they, Jack? Yeah, they went up.
And the more marks you have from OSHA, right, could hinder you from getting future work. You
Yep.
know, so it's something that, you know, safety, you know, I say it all the time, if we're not proactive to it, we will be reactive to it. And a lot of times it comes with an injury, a death, or a fine. You know, the ramifications of a safety incident is never good, especially, you know, if there were processes and procedures, you know, to be put in place to ensure it didn't happen, right? So another thing that I really liked too, Tim, was your analysis, right? You basically have an internal permitting for your trenching, which I think is super awesome. I think that's something that all contractors should incorporate when it comes to, you know, analyzing the work that they're doing, ensuring they understand, right, the soil, the depth, the width, what type of traffic and vibration is in the area, the moisture, right? I saw all that on that sheet, and I think that that's super cool. And if you don't have something like that within your own organizations, it's not a bad idea to put something like that together. There's an example that Tim shared with us today. You can go online and look at different examples to really make it your own, right? However it is you want to follow it, but those check boxes should be mandatory every single time you're doing that type of work.
I will share some with you guys. One thing about trenching and shoring is, you know, when you're in it, you go through a collapse. You saw in that video, they don't hop in there and save you. You know, every time they had a 5-gallon bucket they were dumping in this guy, and then he was putting dirt in it. They were hauling it out, and the more dirt they pulled out, the more dirt came on. So they just don't hop in there and get you guys. If they can't safely save you, they'll let you die to save other people. They have to. They can't put more people in danger. So just something to think about if you guys were ever caught into an excavation or a collapse. So it's a heartwarming situation for your family. It's rough.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for letting me present. I appreciate that today. I hope if you know, if some people got something out of it, hope you share it. Hope you're taking the presentation and share it with your organization and make your organization that much better. The people that aren't here, I mean, send it to them, let them look at it, you know, let them get something out of it. It saves one life and we all win.
Hey, Tim, are you okay with us sharing this presentation with our whole membership?
Absolutely. You can share. You can share it. I know David's not going to care. David's going to send it to you, but yeah, we made it. So I mean, Dave did anyway. I don't know where he got it, but he gave it to me. I think it's been around for a while. So absolutely.
Thank you.
Just give it Dave if you guys don't mind. Vince Dillon, he can get all this stuff to you.
For sure. Thank you again, Tim, and thank you for your time this morning. Thanks to the group. Shannon, do you have a question?
No, I just wanted to say great job, Tim. I appreciate the information, and I was going to ask Holly if we could share this on social media, if you're going to post it there, or how you might share it. We want to help promote.
Sure. What we'll do is I will send out an email to everyone that was on the call, and then it will go out through our marketer. She'll be sending it out to the whole membership. And if you're wanting to share it on social media, if Encore's fine with that, please do.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Very awesome. Well, I hope everybody has a safe day. Let us know if you need or come up with a safety topic you would like to focus in on. And remember, let's be proactive about safety, because like I said, if we're not, we'll be reactive to it. So let us know. We look forward to seeing some of you at the Summit Awards coming up here in April. Yeah, have a good, safe work day. We appreciate you for joining us.
Hey,
Hi,
one
guys.
last
Thanks
thing.
again.
Thank you.
Nice, guys.
See you, Jack.
Thanks again, Tim. Very awesome, man.
Anytime I can do to help, man. Anything I can do to help. Thank you.
Right on. Thank you.
Good job.
Bye.
Woohoo! We didn't get the attendance maybe that we wanted to, but that was a great presentation, Tim, and we
Okay.
really appreciate it. And it's such valuable information. And we will get it out to everybody, man.
Okay, well, I went through it pretty quick, so I hope it's okay. Like I said, I dialed this down. There was 120 slides. I downed it.
I think it worked out perfect. You let us know what we needed to know. So thank you so
Okay,
much.
awesome. That's what I was trying to do. Cool. Hey, thank you. I'm glad to be a part of it, man. Let me know if you need anything else, okay?
We appreciate it. We'll reach out to you, Tim. Thanks so much.
See ya.
Yep. Have a good day.